Okay, well, yesterday before the Nebraska-Michigan State game, I made this video. I talked about the 91 theme that I've been seeing a lot, and it all ties into Nebraska and Miami and a ton of other things. Um, I also said something to do with a biblical theme with the Josiah and the Barak or Barak. I didn't notice that much in the game that had to do with that, that's what I talked about in this video. Doesn't mean it wasn't there. Maybe I'm just not seeing it or putting it together yet. Maybe it'll come to me at some later time. But this game was super coded, rigged, whatever you want to call it. Somehow it is done by the numbers. So Nebraska ends up winning the game, and they won 39-38. But they ended up coming back, and they had a 91-yard drive. I mean, are you kidding me? 91 yards? I just talked about how the DeMornay Pearson L, his name adds up to 91. 91 seems like an elimination number, but yet I also have been seeing teams getting 91-yard plays and whatnot to win. So it's kind of, I don't know for sure what exactly they're doing with it. Seems like whenever somebody's name adds up to 91, then they start doing bad. But on these plays that are 91 yards, they're winning. And remember last week the controversial play was the Miami Hurricanes, and they did the whole thing against Duke or whatever, and it was also a 91-yard play. And I talked about Cameron Wake of the Miami Dolphins like 3 days before that on the Thursday night, or 2 days before that on Thursday night. He got a season-ending injury, tore his Achilles. Talked tons about this number 91. And of course, Cameron Wake is number 91. Interesting, before I even talk about the Nebraska game, I want to talk about this hit on Teddy Bridgewater for the Minnesota Vikings. I've talked a lot about. I talked about the Minnesota Golden Gophers, their coach retiring, also Flip Saunders with the Timberwolves dying, and how it all ties into Teen Wolf and Space Jam and all kinds of stuff, and it all ties back into the Nebraska Cornhuskers, because in Teen Wolf, there's Nebraska Cornhusker stuff all over in the background, and the movie is not even from Nebraska whatsoever. Also, the beaver mascot in that movie is from Oregon State, where Nebraska's new coach, Mike Riley, actually came from. But anyway, so the Vikings just stood out to me because they're from Minnesota, and look at Vikings in gematria. So if you're a Viking fan, I don't know. I wouldn't be cheer. I mean, you can cheer for them. I think they're going to start doing terrible now. But who knows? I haven't perfected this. But every time something adds up to 91, they are eliminated, it seems like. But what's the most ridiculous thing is that when I think Teddy Bridgewater, I think of the fake Roanoke shooting and Bridgewater. And I remember Bridgewater adds up to 58. So Bridgewater, 58. The guy who supposedly hit him was LaMarcus Joyner. Go figure. LaMarcus Joyner also adds up to 58. But look at this. LaMarcus Joyner, look where he's from. He was born in Miami, Florida. And look where Teddy Bridgewater was born. Teddy Bridgewater also born in Miami, Florida. Interesting too, LaMarcus Joyner was the 41st pick in the draft. 41 and 91 in that last video, I talked about how they go together. 4-1, like April 1st, is the 91st day of the year even. Also, very interesting, I talked about the Flip Saunders dying. He began coaching the Timberwolves on the 21st game of Kevin Garnett's rookie season. Kevin Garnett wore number 21. He played with the Timberwolves for 12 seasons before coming back, and then Flip Saunders dies, and now it's Kevin Garnett's 21st season even. So it's a lot to do with number 21. This doesn't have the updated game here. He's actually played 8 games this season, so he got hurt or a concussion on his 21st career game. Also, let me find it here. Look at the score of the game. Minnesota had 21 points, and Bridgewater had 21 pass attempts. I mean, give me a break. His real name is even Theodore Bridgewater II, which adds up to 121. The mirrors 12 and 21. Even threw for 144 yards, which that ties in. Mark of the Beast adds up to 144. The last 144 digits after pi, the decimal of pi, add up to 666. And there's other things, but I only mention that because Flip Saunders his death was all about the synagogue of Satan, which adds up to 223. He was born on 2/23, announced his cancer on the 223rd day of the year. So it all ties back into that. But anyway, I want to show you this play, and then I'm going to talk about the Nebraska game. Oh, I'm sorry. It doesn't even look like he hit him. I don't even get it. How do people believe it? He's totally faking. Maybe I'm wrong. It looks like he barely touches him.
That's one for Joyner where you wonder why.
He barely hits him. I don't get it. No way. Sorry, one more time. No way he got knocked out from that. Maybe. Just no way. It just doesn't seem real. Actually, let's watch the slow motion preview, or replay. This is a dirty play. No way.
Well, you saw right there Mike Zimmer walking right by.
Okay, so on to this ridiculously coded Nebraska game here. I'm not even going to talk about the whole game, just some main parts that are just insane. But first off, it was Nebraska's 346th consecutive home game sellout or whatever. So they made a big deal out of that. And if you add this up at Gematria, it's 113, which we've talked about with the royal family. And then it's also 266. Interesting number, 923 is the 266th day of the year. Pope Francis is the 266th Pope. Interesting, too, if you take September 23rd and you go to, it adds up to 269. And on the 269th day, they played Southern Mississippi. I talked a lot about this game. Seemed like they were foreshadowing a blackout or something that was going to happen at this game. Or also something to do with Fort Calhoun. Interesting, the Michigan State game today, they even have a player named Calhoun, whatever. But just wanted to point that out. There was a lot of Moses coding in this game. So I talked about the synagogue of Satan, but with the 223, but Skull and Bones numbers, the 322, the mirror of 223. Skull and Bones adds up to 41. Just like this game was all about Nebraska black shirts. Whatever, it really was. They foreshadowed, even they showed the guy in the skeleton outfit like 3 times even. Black shirts, 41. They play Memorial Stadium, 41. Just their little logo, N. N is the 14th letter. 14 adds up to 41. It's a red N. Red N adds up to 41. Husker fans, 41. The word rigged is 41. The coach, when they began having the black shirts, his name even adds up to 41. And the reason I brought all this back up is because literally there's a ton of 41 in this game. Or 41 and 14. So right at the very beginning they show Mike Riley's stats here. 14 wins over ranked opponents in 14 seasons at Oregon State. I've also talked about the number 60 a lot, and 60 and 55 are mirrored years. It seems like 60 is kind of like the kill one or the death one, elimination. And 55 has been the one where you win. So, interesting. Listen to what they say here.
Coming over from Oregon State, where he spent the last 12 years. It's been a struggle as the Huskers are off to their worst start in 55 years.
So the Huskers are off to their worst start in 55 years. They were even 5.5-point underdogs in Vegas going into this game. And the drive at the end of the game where they went 91 yards started with 55 seconds. Interesting to point out in regards to Skull and Bones, and the synagogue of Satan, Satan adds up to 55. Just wanted to point it out, Satan 55. Also, the other day I talked about how Kevin Garnett said his name was Kevin Maurice Garnett, and on Nebraska's lineup here, number 55, his name is even Kevin Maurice. He's a black shirt. He also had a pretty good game this game. And the stats may not show it, but literally, they mentioned his name multiple times in this game about how he was having a good game or whatever. So also, Nebraska scored 39 points, which if they went for 2 and they didn't get it, they would have scored 41, which I was a little bit surprised. But I remember this article, they mentioned, they emphasized the 9 and 3 a couple times to where, I don't know, they like to tell you what they're going to do before they're going to do it in these articles. They even mentioned Nebraska and how this kid didn't go to the Nebraska game, and that was the last Michigan State game that he's ever going to miss. But they say that this Josiah is Barak's older brother by 9 years, and the third of Tim and Mary Price's 4 boys. So 9 and 3. And they also say that Josiah's biggest play, and I mean, why they even really write it in here, but it says Cook hit him with a 9-yard pass on 3rd down for a game-winning score, still the biggest touchdown of his career. So they wanted you to see the 9 and 3. So who knows if that's why Nebraska won with 39 points, but it just seems like it. Also, look, Nebraska's last drive, it says it lasted 38 seconds. Michigan State scored 38 points, and I had a good idea they weren't going to win when they had 38 points because the word death equals 38. And I'll get back into the 41 stuff here in a second, but they also they emphasize it in this game that Nebraska has lost 4 games on the last play, and last play adds up to 106. Interesting, because that's all about the curse of the Billy Goat. Curse of the Billy Goat adds up to 223, just like the synagogue of Satan. It all ties into the Chicago Cubs, so Nebraska wins with the 91-yard drive, and also it made their record 4 and 6, so 91 and 46, just like Chicago Cubs. And there's other stuff that goes with this, but this is just one I want to just emphasize. It seems like they broke the curse almost. There's that Skull and Bones guy right here that they showed multiple times throughout this game, because they want you to know about Skull and Bones, and the black shirts are the Skull and Bones. So, pointed out here, Nebraska started on the 9-yard line with 55 seconds left. So here's the catch that Nebraska scores 39 points with. Just look who's guarding him. Number 39 is guarding Brandon Riley for Nebraska. So number 39 misses the play, and then Nebraska scores 39 points. Number 30 died. I mean, did he really get pushed out? Who knows? But ridiculous. And this guy, wouldn't you know, Brandon Riley, let's look at him up. Let's look him up real quick. I mean, wouldn't you know, that was his 41st career reception. The 41. His name in gematria even adds up to 149, just like Skull and Bones. He's number 87. Interesting, 87 adds up to 139 and 58, just like the word Freemasonry. He even had 87 reception yards in this game. And the reason Nebraska didn't get those 2 points was because they couldn't have 41, because it had to be with their defense. They couldn't have 41 with their offense. That wouldn't make sense. The black shirts had to prevail. So there were 17 seconds left. Nebraska kicks the ball off. And listen to what the announcers say. They say he went to the 41-yard line, even though it was the 42. They say it more than once. He's at the 41 even. So for some reason they started at the 42, but 14 seconds left. They said it was the 41-yard line. They throw the ball down to the 41-yard line even. So the last play starts on the 41. If they would have kicked it, they would have won with 41 points. but they lost and their ranking dropped to number 14, and they're 4-1 in the Big Ten.